Just hours after Indian Army Chief General M.M. Naravane's visit to Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch, a spooked Pakistan issued a statement on Tuesday anticipating a submarine strike by India. In a bizarre claim, the Pakistan Inter-Services Public Relations (ISPR) alleged that it detected and blocked an Indian submarine from entering its waters on Saturday, October 16. In fact, the Pakistani NSA also put out a series of tweets claiming that this was not the first submarine invasion by India. The PR wing of the Pakistan Armed Forces even issued a low-quality surveillance video showing actual footage of Indian submarine detection. Upon taking a closer look at the coordinates on the footage, it could be seen that the vessels were spotted 280 kilometers away from Pakistan waters. The latitude and longitude mentioned in the video were 22 degrees 17 minutes north and 66 degrees 30 minutes towards the east. This position is essentially about 250 to 280 km away from Karachi, meaning the vessels were not in Pakistani waters at all. Amidst the targeted killings and subsequent tense atmosphere in Jammu and Kashmir, now this bizarre submarine attack claim, one wonders what could happen if the Indian and Pakistani Navy were to lock horns in the seas. Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha speaks to Republic in this episode of Uninterrupted on the same, and also sheds light on the capabilities of the Indian Navy, its upcoming plans, and more.
You know, the Indian Navy is a very robust and a very strong Navy. And actually speaking, there is no comparison with the Pakistan Navy. Pakistan Navy has developed and acquired some airborne early warning capability recently, and also upgraded the equipment on board the maritime patrol aircraft, which are also used for anti-submarine warfare. So they have this capability, but not a fat one. They cannot sustain it over a long period of time. Whereas we have world-class maritime patrol and anti-submarine warfare aircraft. It's called the P-8I. You must have heard about this aircraft, and we have the nearly 1 dozen. The 11th one delivery has just been taken, and another month I think the 12th one will come. Though there will be more procurements, I am sure, to replace the IL-38s. So I think that in all fields, if you take surface-to-surface warfare, you take from the surface onto the shore, or you take the anti-submarine warfare, or you take the submarine warfare, or you take the air warfare. In all these aspects of warfare, Indian Navy is, I would say, more than twice as strong. So the new warfare, which is now coming into being in the cyber and space, of which the capability of Pakistan, if it is not supported by China, then it's much lower than the capacity of Indian Navy. So I think that Pakistan Navy, if they are wise, or if they have done the comparison in a proper manner, then they would not like to lock horns with the Indian Navy at all. It has been used by Pakistan a number of times, and this is one way of telling their own government, that they will require more of these maritime patrol aircraft and anti-submarine warfare aircraft. And they just try and prove that, we have very few and we cannot take care of all the, submarines which the Indian Navy can deploy. As far as deployment is concerned, I think Indian Navy has already made a statement that no submarine was operating in that area. It was not deployed. So that is obviously a hoax. But coming back to your more important question, is it done? Now, every country, submarine is a stealth weapon. It is not visible, and yet it can give you a lot of information. So the countries, at least the advanced countries, they always have submarines operating in the waters which are close to the, the adversary's area of interest. So if it is deployed, in surveillance mission, the submarine can go anywhere to anywhere. And I won't be surprised that, Normally in peacetime, unless the tensions are high, submarine deployment in very close to the so-called adversary's coast, it has to be done only with a particular very specific task, a very specific mission on which you should be deploying it. Uh, do we deploy or not? Every country deploys. Every country deploys submarine. Pakistan also must be deploying its submarine, if they have one. And why don't we find it? Well, obviously they are not there. So if they are there, our fleets, when they sail out, before they sail out, the entire area is sanitized by, firstly by anti-submarine bigger aircraft, like P-8I or the IL-38, and then by the helicopters. Helicopters, like the Kamov, and we have Seeking right now, and we will get the MH-90 Romeo soon. That's why these helicopters are very important for the Navy, because before you sail the fleet, you need to sanitize the area, ensuring that there are no submarines lurking around in that area, so that in case of a high tension period, in case of a period when the war is imminent, these submarines can be damaging to your ships even before they have taken to sea. So this is a game which is played by every country which possesses submarine. So I would say that possibility of deploying these in future, answer is yes. That is why you have submarines. Was it deployed this time? The Navy has already denied it. So there is very little that I can say. We have to appreciate that China's economy is 5 times larger, and so is China's armed forces. And China has been building 8 to 9 destroyers every year, adding to its submarine fleet. It has got second aircraft carrier at sea, the third one is, almost ready. So China is a power which wants to become the number one power of the world, and it wants to replace the United States of America from the top position. And therefore, China is working in that direction. We are not in that direction. And therefore, we will, if you say force to force, we will always be in the lower side, because we are not at such a huge economy, and our aspirations are regional. Our aspirations are not global as far as military is concerned. So for regional aspirations, we are fine. So if you look at only the Indian Ocean, I think in the Indian Ocean, we are still a very strong Navy, most powerful Navy, resident Navy. Not otherwise, United States is also operating here. The United States is the world's most powerful Navy. But if you talk about only the ones who are residing in Indian Ocean, we are the most powerful Navy. We are the most powerful, most helpful Navy. We are now the preferred security partner of almost all the IOR littorals, the countries which are in and around Indian Ocean. So if you say that China, force level wise, it is much bigger. But we have a great geographical advantage. We are right in the middle of Indian Ocean. China has to move from somewhere, or it has to operate from the ports which are in the littorals of Indian Ocean. So that gives us another target. So therefore, I would say that in the Indian Ocean, because of our geographical advantage and the warfare, the tactics that the Indian Navy is going to use, that any day the Chinese, the Communist Navy will have to think twice before they lock horns. They would like, actually speaking, they are already trying very hard to have maritime security cooperation with India. They have tried, and 2015 when our Prime Minister Modi went there for the first time, it was also one of the agenda points, and it is there, still there. But our relations with China have not been at the best stature right now after the Galwan. As you know that we are, the last border talks have failed, nothing has resulted. So China is taking a very strong sort of stand. And I think, so is India, and India must take a strong stand, because all said and done, we are not a pushover country, neither on land, nor in the air, and neither at sea. In fact, at sea we are thankfully much better, much stronger, because we make our own ships, we make our own submarines, and the naval planners and our politicians of the past, they had a good foresight. They said no, we must become, we must have indigenous ships. And now with Prime Minister Modi now saying Atmanirbhar Bharat, I can tell you that Navy will be way ahead of everybody else because we are already fairly Atmanirbhar. So I think that coming back to your question, that we should not be comparing force to force, because there China is obviously way ahead. But how much of those forces can China commit into Indian Ocean for having a locking horns with Indian Navy? If you see that China has got other commitments, South China Sea, where it is facing the might of United States of America, it will be facing Australia, it will be facing Japan, and who knows, even India. So to counter that, the Chinese have got their mind completely occupied in those things, and therefore their commitment to Indian Ocean is only interest China, because about 80% of their oil comes from the Indian Ocean for meeting their day-to-day requirement, and it crosses through the Indian Ocean where they are very vulnerable throughout. And you must have heard about Malacca dilemma, and I think that Indian Navy has now converted that Malacca dilemma into Indian Ocean dilemma for the Chinese. It's not only on Malacca that you have a dilemma. I mean, Chinese should realize that it is not only a Malacca dilemma. For them, it is an Indian Ocean dilemma because of the Indian Navy's deployment pattern and the manner in which they have grown. So, I think that we are still a power to reckon with in Indian Ocean. The technology, the ships are aircraft and submarines are very high-tech platforms, and the technology changes very rapidly. I would say that the ships, submarines and aircraft now are absolutely state of the art. We have had a time frame when most of the items were legacy items and very few current items. I mean, the general ratio is about 30% of futuristic systems, 30% of legacy systems, and rest 40% are the current technology. So I think that the Navy now technologically, I would think that it is more than 40% of Navy actually has a current technology systems. As far as future technologies are concerned, they are being inducted and they will continue to be inducted. For example, on the P8I. P8I, whatever the American Navy gets it, we will get it, because American Navy and Indian Navy inducted these aircraft at the same time. And now many countries are buying. I mean, Australians are buying, the Japanese are going to buy it. I think they're all waiting for one export order from India and import order from India and export from Boeing. That rest of the countries are looking at it. So I think that weapon system wise, we have improved a lot. Electronic warfare, we have improved a lot. Radars, we have gone to radars which can look very far. You have now shipboard missiles which can fire 300 kilometers, BrahMos, supersonic missile. We have the surface to air missiles of 70-kilometer range, and that is the Barak, the new generation Barak. We have close-in weapon system where the rates of fires are so high. So 7 years ago when I left the Navy and when I see the Navy now, I was very pleasantly happy and surprised to see that how far ahead we have come, how shall I say technical our operations rooms have become. And you asked about structurally, yes, now every officer in the Navy in executive branch, which is the fighting branch, is a B.Tech officer, and that gives him a very good, shall I say, the idea, the engineering aspects, the technology aspects. He not only he handles the technology, he knows the technology. So he can talk the engineer's language. So that is one big change which has happened, and that is changing the whole concept of how to plan a warfare, how to use the equipment, when do you get the, shall I say, the midlife upgrades, what kind of more equipment, what kind of more technology we need to invest in, because these are the boys who are very current. They are, after all, they're all engineers and doing the job of a fighting branch. As far as the structure changes within the Navy are concerned, there have been fair amount of reorganization within the Navy, particularly on the side of the technical side has been made more strong, whether it is aircraft technical side. Earlier we had just one directorate. Now within the technical side in the aircraft itself, on the aircraft side there are 4 directorates. Aircraft acquisition was one directorate. Now you got sub-directorates because we are so many procurement cases are going on. Indigenous inductions are going on. So you require people to handle on the staff of the naval headquarters. Similarly, in the operations, we have a Director General of Naval Operation, which was not there earlier. So obviously it means that the Deputy Chief, who is a Vice Admiral, Senior Vice Admiral, he is supported by another Vice Admiral. So there is, since the scope of our responsibility has increased, the areas have become very vast. We got maritime domain awareness area, where all the ships are deployed and submarines and aircraft, they are feeding into our satellites, and satellites are transporting these, the positions to the maritime domain awareness. We got the IOC Indian Ocean Fusion Center in Gurugram, near Manisa, and that is the central system, which is monitoring the entire Indian Ocean at all the times. And we are not doing it anything quietly. There are some 28 countries, partner countries, who are also giving their white shipping data. White shipping means the trade ships. The data is fed into that. And we share the entire picture with all these countries. In fact, there are some countries who have deputed their representatives here, the French, the American, the British, they're all here. Maybe the Australians will come now. So I think that, maritime warfare is a collective warfare because the areas are too large. Somebody will give you intelligence, somebody will give you the position, somebody will give you advanced surveillance by their aircraft depending upon who is in the area. And that is where our Maritime Security Cooperation, which is under the aegis of Malabar and obliquely with Quad, they are something which has become extremely important, and these things have happened after much after the in the years of past 2000. So this is one area where the cooperation, cooperative arrangements, joint warfare, and the interoperability with other countries, and proving our standard operating procedures not only within our own navy but with other 3 navies, Japan, Australia, US, and on the same mission various tasks are given to these different countries' navies, and they're all together on one network. So, your working improves, you understand each other's SOP, you know the operating procedures of this country, and therefore it has become, shall I say, very, very advanced in thinking, very advanced in surveillance, very advanced in practicing the warfare the procedures. How do we fight war together? So that is one big change, and technology is another big change. Within the directorates to handle all this, the number of directorates have been created. More directorates have been created. More people are monitoring this. So is the case in the command headquarters. We have coastal security network in which we are with the Coast Guard. We have an area on the grid where we are supposed to be providing information beyond the exclusive economic zone, because our ships and aircraft go beyond that area. Coast Guard by and large remains within that area. Coast Guard has been increased very large. You see the number of aircraft and number of ships they have. So our integration with Coast Guard has become much stronger. It wasn't so. It was there, but it was on very infant stage. I would say that the whatever is required at the staff level in the naval headquarters, command headquarters to handle these, the increased scope of our warfare, increased scope of our cooperation with each other, with so many countries. So you require more people to handle and more structures within the naval headquarters to make it happen. Similarly, our submarine force, we have a vice admiral. Now there is a full-fledged APSO who looks after nuclear submarines, because you will see the numbers increasing. The engineers of the nuclear submarine, the maintenance side, the dockyards, more infrastructures are being created to take on these new builds. Our what is called the shop floors within the dockyard are being modernized to handle this modern equipment, the high technology. People are doing courses, India, abroad. Yes, we have to keep adding, because your equipment stature, your the Navy's infrastructure, the Navy's training methods, Navy's sort of HRD, human resource development, the workshops in the dockyards, the docks in the dockyard, they all have to be modernized together. They are being modernized, and they should be modernized even further to handle all this. So I think that all in all, I will say that I am seeing a extremely different Navy. And then they are talking about integration within the armed forces, and that process is on. We were briefed by the naval headquarters, some of our retired people, and we had a lot of doubts, how will this work, how will they work. They have done a very good job. They have really, the Vice Chief of Naval Staff headed that board for Navy, and if the Maritime Theatre Command, if any command comes to, becomes reality, my guess is that Maritime Theatre Command might be the first command which will be the real joint command, in our country. So I think these are the changes, and I think even within the country, all resources have to be pooled. We don't have the luxury of every service having its own asset and similar type of asset. So headquarters, Integrated Defence Staff, HQIDS, CISC, they are doing a fantastic job of making sure that there are no duplications, and all three services buy the items together so that we can do order together so that we can do the price negotiation from a position of strength. When you buy larger numbers, then you can bring down the overall cost. So that also helps, whether it is an Indian company, whether it is a company from outside, negotiation you have to do. So I think it's the defense procurement procedures have become different. Some people are saying it has become more tedious. I wouldn't know, but that probably requires a little more fine tuning to make the procurement process faster. Otherwise, you will always be lagging behind in acquiring technology. The Indian Navy's procurement sort of process is quite very well streamlined. As you know that we make all our ships now in our own country, including the aircraft carrier, which you would have seen on the television. About 73% is Indian content. So there are 34 odd ships which are in the pipeline, but these are the replacement for the older ships. For every 2-3 ships getting decommissioned in next 10 years, 3 or 4 ships will be inducted of similar type. So that way our force levels are likely to remain same or maybe a little bit higher. What will happen is that they will be upgraded to the newer technologies, to newer equipment which are more current and very advanced in technology. So those will give you the edge over any adversary, whether it is China or whether it is Pakistan, to a very large extent. So one is the ship replacement. As I said, some 34 odd ships are in the pipeline which are coming as a replacement. When it comes to submarine, we are in the process of making the second SSBN, as it is called, that's the nuclear propelled submarine, and carrying nuclear weapons, follow up of Arihant. I saw in the press that it's likely to be coming on trial by next year. So that will go to strengthen our the triad, the third leg of our second strike capability. As you know that the submarine launched nuclear missile, they are the only ones whose position is never known to the adversary, and therefore even if our nuclear silos, which are land based or somewhere in silos, even if the position is known and if they get neutralized in the first nuclear attack by adversary, we can still respond back with the sea based nuclear weapon, which is from these submarines. In addition, as you know that the Scorpion submarines, three of them are already with the Navy. Three more are in the build, and I think that every 6 months or maybe every 1 year, they will be commissioning one each. So we will see all six in water and doing their work. These are all diesel submarines and under transfer of technology to Mazgaon Dock Limited in Mumbai. This is about those submarines. Also, under the strategic partnership project, the government has already cleared the 75 India, which is a follow-on of diesel submarines. It may not be of same type, it may be of same type, that we will see. The government has shortlisted 4 or 5 big companies, and it has shortlisted 2 Indian companies, that is Mazgaon Dock Limited and the Larsen and Toubro in the private sector. My sense or my very strong suggestion will be that whosoever is partnering for 75 India from abroad, it should go to Larsen and Toubro, because we need to give the private sector a big fillip, and it's nearly 40 or 1,000 crore. When you make these submarines in a big platform, it also gives opportunity to the medium and small, the scale industry, MSMEs, who make the components, and that can be a very large number of the MSMEs will come into play, who will be actually manufacturing various components of this submarine, whereas the integration will be done by the company, which is either MDL or Larsen and Toubro. But I hope it is Larsen and Toubro, not for any reason. I think that's the only private sector at the moment which is capable of making a submarine. So that is the advantage of giving it to a new buildup, because it will generate a lot of jobs, and it will make us quite Atmanirbhar, even if we are importing the technology and technology being transferred. What will happen that the small industries, they will grow, and they will grow in a very, very large manner, and it will require more than 100 odd MSMEs to support building of submarine, and thereafter maintenance, thereafter the entire life cycle of the submarine, which can go into 30-40 years. So these components will be required even by the Navy when the submarines are operating. Then we are also looking at our anti-submarine warfare helicopters. As you know that MH-90 Romeo 24 we have signed. The first 3 has been handed over to the Indian Navy in US, where our pilots and observers and our technical officers and men, they are being trained so that when they come to India, they should be fully ready to operate this. But there will be 24 of these helicopters. As you know that all our ships are supposed to be carrying anti-submarine helicopter. We don't have enough right now, and Sea Kings are by and large coming to end of their the technical life. So that is one area where there is necessary that ASW helicopters are procured in larger numbers. Unfortunately, we are not making helicopters which can operate from the ships, and the equipment, the sonar equipment, the sonobuoy equipment, the torpedoes which go on board these helicopters, our technology is not ripe as yet to start making it yourself. So I think here the Atmanirbhar will take a little bit of time. However, I foresee that at least some of the components of the these helicopters can surely be manufactured in India, particularly the airframe, hydraulics, and other parts, which we are already supplying to this company. It is being built in India and transported, and it is sent to the main company. So that will give fillip to the medium and small scale industries for making these helicopters. Then we also have the naval utility helicopter in the pipeline, and I think there are 156 of them are probably required, and that's a very large number. And I believe that that will also be under the strategic partnership, and it will be built in India. So let us see how it is going. There are 3-4 companies who have been shortlisted, and now question of possibly to do the trial and shortlist it further, and then identify. Unfortunately, in the private sector, we haven't got any industry which can manufacture helicopter. So this will be a good opportunity for the private sector to jump in and start a helicopter manufacturing line absolutely de novo. Just like the Tatas have got the contract for making the transport aircraft, 40 of them, which under the transfer of technology, which will be coming shortly. So similarly, there has to be some day when it is going to begin, and I think this is the right time to begin, because utility helicopter does not have any weapon systems, and therefore it is less complicated, and it will have a radar, it will have a electronic warfare equipment. All of these we make, and therefore it can become a reasonably good indigenous helicopter, and we could become Atmanirbhar in this field, and also get our private sector engaged into manufacturing helicopters. As far as the fighters are concerned, Navy has a RFI already for 56 fighter aircraft. So that is still alive, and my own guess is that by the time the MiG-29K it goes towards its obsolescence or end of life, or getting slowly older, we will have to import some, because in this aerospace is one sector where the indigenization has been the least. Though we are making large number of components and large number of parts of the airframe, but a full aircraft, that's why the light combat aircraft Tejas and the Tejas Navy is a big hope. And the Chief of Naval Staff has mentioned that twin engine deck-based fighter, we are committed to encouraging the HAL and ADA to design that and manufacture it. But these processes take time. You know how much time it has taken for LCA. So we have gone back into the drawing board for making a twin engine deck-based fighter, and it is going to take a very, very long time. In the meanwhile, there will be requirement to get another fighter aircraft, 56 of which, as I said, the RFI is already out. So there are talks that which aircraft will come. It has to be twin engine, and I can see that the F-18 Hornet and the Rafale, obviously the marine version. As you would know, Rafale is actually a naval aircraft. The Air Force has acquired it on a land version, but actually the French had built it for their carrier, the Charles de Gaulle, and it flies from there. It first flew from there only. I was on board when it was doing the first flying from there. So I think that the government will have to take a call. The government also has to take a call in the follow-on aircraft carrier after the Vikrant, and it is likely to be 65,000 tons and much bigger, and likely to be a catapult takeoff and arrested landing. We don't have a catapult takeoff system at the moment. As you know, the Vikramaditya has got a ski jump, so it's a free takeoff for the fighter aircraft MiG-29. And similarly, the Vikrant which has come, that has also got a ski jump. So they will have to do this takeoff. So all in all, I think it depends on how much money we can allocate, and given the likely threats that we perceive in next 5-10 years, the oceans are going to be very important. And China and Pakistan, in their own cohesion, in their cahoot, they can become very concerning for Indian Navy if we don't build these capacities and capabilities. Because what we have right now is enough only for today's war. But for tomorrow's war, day after tomorrow's war, is going to be different. Then the UAVs, as you know, the Navy is already operating the Predator UAV, in the southern beyond the southern peninsula. It is always on a surveillance mission, and it's doing a very good job. And I think there is a talk of all three services getting 10 each. And ocean surveillance is going to be very key to knowing as to who's where, so that our navy can be swung into action. And that is one area where I think that on a smaller scale, on smaller UAV, ship-based UAV for local area surveillance, there's a great opportunity. And I think Navy is already partnering with some startup company to see the feasibility of doing this. Apart from this, there will be a large number of requirement of electronic warfare equipment which is made in India. That the technology could be transferred to more number of private companies and get them involved in this, so that they start making this. Then we also have the ammunitions for all these. For example, the Mark 54 torpedoes being imported. Quite possible that Mark 40, we have a heavyweight torpedo for ships. It is quite possible that we can have an upgrade in our the infrastructure, the building blocks in our factories, in our industries, and start making those under license from the US, because these aircraft are here to stay. Mark 40, 54 torpedoes. We are also, what is here to stay is these torpedoes are on P-8I aircraft, and we have 12 of them, and there will be more. So we are looking at a fairly long-term 30-40-year period, and this must be a endeavor of the Navy to see that how many weapons which are imported can we indigenize. And I'm sure that they are already at it. So overall, it's good, but I think the government needs to invest a little more money in the naval warfare field, because Indian Ocean is a very huge area, and it's 3,000 kilometers on 1,500 kilometers on either side from the peninsular India, and you see the whole area of our Indian Ocean where we are doing surveillance. And if we have to be credible, and Navy must be a deterrence to any other adversary. Any adversary who's troubling us on the land border, we must begin to trouble those adversaries at sea, so that we have a handle on which we can do our negotiations even for the land borders. Because say on land border there is hardly any room for any expansion, except for the chances of losing our own area, losing our own land. There is hardly any chance of gaining any land on the other side. Whereas at sea, you have almost 3,000 kilometers of sea, and much more than that, we have very huge ocean area to protect. The Navy is already operating from seven places of all the choke points: Malacca Strait, Straits of Hormuz, the Gulf of Aden, and Sunda, and the Lombok, and in the northern Bay of Bengal, in northern Indian Ocean, southern Indian Ocean. All these areas are under 24/7 surveillance. What we also need is a satellite, low Earth orbit satellite with very high definition camera, so that we can, once the adversary has been sort of located at sea, we should be able to do that. We should be able to actually track them by our own satellite cameras. So I think this is another area where since we are heading in the direction of the space, this will be a good area, and I think that the ISRO should be able to lend their hand and make the Navy more capable.